Hey guys, welcome back to Taste Soul Good. So today we are checking out BTS's interview and appearance on GMA. A little bit about me, my name is Paul and I live here in Seoul, South Korea as an English teacher where I've been teaching English to Korean students for almost 10 years. So we're going to look at their English ability. First things first though, this is not judgment. This is simply to tell you a little bit more about Korean culture, and Korean education system. And if you are Korean, this is to help you maybe improve your English skills. So don't think this is a judgment. So let's get to it. Alright, so right away, it's a very small stage. I didn't realize how small a stage that GMA was. The crowd seems very enthusiastic. Seems like they're having a great time.
Please have a seat.
The guys are definitely very well dressed.
Very nice to meet you guys.
Very bright for a morning show.
Please.
Like one of us or?
Yeah, wanna go?
Okay. Hi.
So right away, RM seems very comfortable speaking English. So yeah, I'm sure they're all tired. I know this tape's really early. They all seem comfortable. I guess they've been making the media rounds for a while. So they're probably kind of used to doing these interviews and press.
Good morning.
Alright, so yeah.
Good morning, America. I'm your hope. You're my hope. I'm saying
Yeah, so definitely comfortable, not shy.
Well, I tell you what, you guys are the biggest boy band in the world.
I think you can kind of tell by their posture that they seem comfortable to be there.
You're going to perform for us later on. Over 200 million views alone.
Wow.
It's really amazing. So, did you think you'd get this much love online?
I don't know. It's like it's all because of like armies like here and.
So I think it's one thing that's really great as they're growing bigger and bigger, they're still remembering their fans and their army and always thanking them. And it seems genuine. I know a lot of musicians and actors always say, oh, we have the best fans in the world, but they don't always seem to care that much. But it seems like they actually are genuine and mean that.
We just, practice hard and, made our music to the best, but, it's always not, we can't pay it off, like, always, but, they send love and support, so that's how it happened.
Well,
Yeah, so
beautiful.
all because of Army.
Organic.
We have heard
A little bit of a
it's so
awkward
beautiful,
situation there.
Everything that you're about. But speaking at the UN and your message, what was that moment?
Alright, so I guess they taped this the day after the UN speech. So if you haven't seen that video from when I reacted to that, that will be up here. So you can watch that as well. So to summarize my reaction to that, was overall very, very positive. I thought that it was a very great message. I was really shocked and surprised by that. But also, since I do teach English here, I am a little bit critical of that because I have been teaching here for almost a decade. So I'm really used to teaching Korean students and kind of their ways. And so whenever I listen to these speeches, of course, listen to their message and things that they're going on. But I also am a teacher. And so when I listen to them, I can't help but think about that. So that's something that I kind of want to look at in the video, is kind of how that ties into everything and how that goes into their interview. Some of their English acquisition and learning English as a second or foreign language, as well as a little bit about Korean culture. So let's hear what they have to say.
Like for you all too.
Actually, I trained for it like 1,000 times. Like I imagined it, and I think I did it okay. But yeah, but
Yeah, so that sentence I thought was kind of interesting. So use the word trained a little incorrectly. I would say like rehearsed or practiced. Trained is usually used for physical activities like a sport. So if you're trying to memorize and rehearse something, I wouldn't use that verb. But it fits, it has the same kind of meaning. Wouldn't be that big of an issue. His use of fillers like, or actually, things like that is really kind of interesting as well. That usually signals kind of a high language acquisition level. Usually I see that mostly in Korean students who have lived or studied abroad and have acquired most of their language skills. It's not something that's really, if you're only in a classroom or teaching yourself. I know he taught himself English from the sitcom Friends, to kind of pick up on those skills. Those are usually things that you learn by living abroad and talking to other native speakers. So it's kind of interesting that he's able to do that without that. But he also has been touring and does have all that experience speaking to speakers of English as a first language.
I was holding the paper, the class one, and I was like, my hands were like shaking like 1,000 times like for a second. So it was
Again,
a
kind of that
nervous thing, but,
like, which also probably indicates his nervousness. He's hiding it well physically, but in his verbal state's coming out a little bit.
And you guys, you sold out Citi Field here in New York. Sold out Citi Field.
So it's definitely quite an achievement, quite a feat.
You guys love New York. New York loves you back. You can see from all the fans that are outside. So how does it feel to be here in Times Square? You can feel all the love around you guys. How does that feel for you?
We love Times Square.
All right, so then going back to the English teacher in me, he says the pronunciation sounded like I love times scare, which is another really common mistake or error in pronunciation that Korean students have when they're learning English. So it's that QU, that kwa sound. And there is a similar sound in Korean, but when they go when they're going to speak English, they tend to have a lot of mistakes and errors with that kwa sound, and it comes out as kind of like a C. So instead of saying square, kwa, it's coming out as scare times scare. And there's a lot of other words that are very common with this, including things like question. May I ask you a question? Tends to come out, may I ask you a question? So it's not getting that kwa sound. It doesn't hinder the meaning. It doesn't really hinder the listener's ability to understand and comprehend. So his message is fine. Of course, he says, we love times scare. We get it. We know what he means. But just one of those other things that you can take a look at if you are studying English, or perhaps you're Korean. If so, hi. Another error or a mistake, or just not even that, but a way to improve your language, your English language abilities, would be that pronunciation.
I love the different personalities that come out. But the tour is going so incredibly well. In fact,
There's a lot of people there.
Because you sell out time and time again. So what has it been like being on tour and seeing everybody, the army?
Prepare for it.
Alright, so let's check out his English.
The tour has been, we got love and energy and support from Army.
Okay, so kind of his intonation there, and the way he's pausing in between words would remind me of a student who's maybe memorized or rehearsed a response to a question. So if I had to guess, this isn't judgment, by the way, was that these questions were provided to Good Morning America, and that was kind of a scripted thing, so they knew when Michael Strahan or when she asked that question that he was going to answer, and that was something that he had prepared. And so it's natural, a lot of the Korean education system is about memorizing, this kind of regurgitating. And when students are trying to do that in English as well, it's usually very obvious. This happens a lot in job interviews. When I've worked for companies doing job interviews, it's a very formatted type of structure, and they're able to memorize and then spit it out. It doesn't sound bad. It sounds, pretty natural. But as somebody who is used to seeing these and dealing with students who have done this as well, I've worked with thousands and thousands of students over the years, and that's something that I can definitely tell. So this is definitely a question that wasn't spontaneous, even though it seems pretty spontaneous of an answer. If you look at it a little more closely, you're going to see that this was something that was rehearsed and he was prepared for.
We're having a great time.
You feel the love and energy.
And you recently released Love Yourself Answer, the latest in the Love Yourself series. Tell us about the album and what inspired this album.
So then going back to RM, obviously he has the highest English language skills here.
Needed this, the true love first begins with loving myself. So we thought that, reminding this word, loving yourself, it's not rare these days now, but I think just reminding these words to the world could have some meanings to the army. ourselves. So we thought the true love first begins in loving ourselves, and we're trying to love ourselves too. And I hope that artists could do the same too.
I tell you what, we love that message.
All right, so two things there. So RM's response there was much more fluid. I thought it wasn't as canned or as rehearsed. It was a little more natural, it was off the cuff. He stuttered. He used those words such as like and as you know. So that's kind of making me think that these are his genuine language abilities, and he seems comfortable using it. It's very, very natural. He sounds like, he's got the good intonation that advanced speakers have. So a lot of students, when they're studying English, they have troubles with intonation because it's something that doesn't come naturally. If you've ever studied a foreign language, you might know that intonation is different in different languages, and questions and rising and falling, things like this. But he seems to have mastered it really, really well. And then going back to just what he said about loving yourself, and again, he shows that appreciation for the Army and encouraging them to love their self, which is just such a great message of hope, and kind of is repeating what he said in his UN speech, but I still think it's a very, very interesting, powerful message. So I'm glad he repeated it, because it's probably a different audience. The GMA audience is probably different than the one watching the UN address.
And Robin's been saying all morning how she loves the message that you guys just spread love, and that's what the world is about.
And I love your Army. I love the people who follow you. They really appreciate your music, but they appreciate the message, the positivity.
That's
and your moves too.
And two things. The moves and the fashion, okay? The moves and the fashion.
Just some very unique fashion. Definitely stand out in the crowd, right?
A little move, something good.
All right, so I think you're probably gonna dance. So I'm assuming this is the end of the video. If not, I'll come back and edit more at the end. But overall, my impression was that this interview was about 5 minutes. They all introduced themselves very briefly, but it was really one main speaker who you can tell is definitely the messenger for the group, and I thought he did a really good job. However, the message that's still being brought to the GMAs is still very impressive. I'm glad to see. I haven't lived in America in quite a few years, but at that time, I guess before the internet, I couldn't really imagine a band from South Korea, a boy band, being able to come and conquer the news and conquer everything, not just selling records, but being everywhere, the UN and GMA and Jimmy Fallon, all those things. So it's a testament that they have that message. And it's like I said in the UN address response, I just keep thinking of Lady Gaga in all of this, because it is this message of self-acceptance and self-love and love for others, and that it all comes from yourself. So I'm glad to see that that message is being brought out again, because the interview could have been very different, and it could have been much more, more just meaningless, more trivial, more entertaining, but they kind of took that time to go back and spread their message of hope and positivity and love and acceptance. So again, very impressed. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up here, and I'm excited to see more. So if you like this video, go ahead and give me a big thumbs up, and go ahead and click that subscribe button, and tell me down in the comments below. If you like these videos, I'll be happy to make more, but just tell me down below and I will get to that. All right, that's all for me here at Taste So Good. Have a good day, and until next time, I'll see you later.